This is going to be a short video that's going to help you review for the AP argument essay. Basically, we're just going to talk about what do you need to remember when you're writing this essay. First, I want to talk about how to spend your 40 minutes. What's the best way to divide up your time? You want to take about 10 minutes to read, break down your prompt, and do your pre-writing. Spend about 25 minutes writing your essay. Then take your last 5 minutes and be sure you leave time to reread your essay and do any revising or editing that you may notice needs to be done. Be sure when you're reading your prompt that you take time to understand the actual background that the College Board is giving you. Who said it? What time was it said if it states that? What's the information that's going to help you understand where this person's coming from? The advice is going to be pretty much the same. Support your argument with appropriate evidence. Be sure that you read it carefully. Consider this quotation, those kinds of things. Then, of course, be sure you understand the actual task of the essay. Here, it's write an essay that defends, challenges, or qualifies Horace's assertion about the role of adversity and how it plays in developing a person's character. Also, be sure that you remember, more often than not, almost always, there are two parts to the actual essay idea. One here is that there's what is Horace's assertion about the role that adversity plays, and the second part is what does it play in developing a person's character. So there are two pieces to understanding what they want you to write. When you're pre-writing, remember there's this idea of the cone of knowing or understanding. So you're going to start with the small section. So here's me, my family, my school, neighborhood, city, county, state, and so on. My region, country, hemisphere, global. Remember, the more sophisticated and worldly and thematic of a thinker you are and writer, the better your essay is going to be. Remember also, if you're using literature as an example, it's the same idea. You start with explaining what happens in the book or the character, but then you're going to go out from the character to the author, and then what the author is saying about mankind in general or society as a whole. What's the thematic connection? When you're thinking about your introduction, remember there are certain parts you want to have. The first one is a hook. Well, not that kind of hook. I mean this kind of hook. You want to hook your reader. Remember, you want to think about how can you get them intrigued in reading your essay. Don't start like everybody else. Don't just repeat the prompt, but think about something original, unique, or interesting. Maybe one of your quotes. Maybe a really short anecdote. Maybe even describing some kind of image or scene you want the reader to visualize that's going to then play into the pathos of your essay. You also want to be sure in the beginning of your introduction that you address or acknowledge any pertinent background information, like the time period, when the quote was said, the kind of person that said it, anything that could be pertinent of your subject, occasion, audience, purpose, or speaker. Then you want to have your thesis. Remember, this is your big idea. This is your position, your stance. This is your answer to the big question. In this kind of thesis, you don't need to tell us your examples now. Those can wait till in the essay. What you do want to do in your thesis is talk about your abstract ideas or your concept. What is the big thing you're thinking about when you're proving this? Remember, the more abstract and thematic your idea is better. Then you can prove it with your concrete examples inside your essay. So in an effective argument, you want to be sure that you consider different views and how they play into your decision. The reader needs to see that you can acknowledge that there are always multiple sides to any issue. Remember, you still want to take a position and support it, but you need to be able to show that you understand more than just your position. So think about it like straddling a fence. It's uncomfortable, it's unrealistic to sit that way. You're not going to get a good balance, and it's not going to feel very good. A more effective way to acknowledge or see what's on both sides of the fence and still sit there is to swing your leg over and sit leaning towards one side. You can still see both sides, but it's very obvious which position you favor. In the body of your essay, you want to be sure and have specific examples. So instead of having a general example like Saturday Night Live does comedy, a specific example is Sarah Palin and how she was satirized by Tina Fey. Or a general example is knowledge is important to some cultural groups. But a specific example, like the essay we read in class, is how the Jewish culture really values knowledge because during the time of persecution, it was the only thing they could truly own and call their own. Then you want to be sure that when you have your specific examples, you're going to develop your argument and explain your ideas with level 2 abstract meaning, ideas, and concepts. So here, concepts are satire, ridicule, derision, or in the next one, truth, perception versus reality, or enlightenment. These are the abstract concepts that are going to take your specific details to a higher level. And lastly, be sure you get in a really short little conclusion. Remember, wrap up your big idea. Don't just restate your thesis, but think about a powerful thematic type statement. What is the big meaning? So what are you saying? And then you're finished.